Hey there. In this podcast, I'm going to be meeting Anthony. He's a therapist who specializes in people who deal like who suffer from addiction of pornography. So, in this podcast, again, we're going to be talking about those areas which are still a taboo in today's like society. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do, and it's going to be the part two of the podcast. So I'm really looking forward to meeting Anthony. Hey there, Anthony.
Hey Janelle, just as you were talking, I appeared.
Yeah. I was giving your introduction to my audience that Anthony is like a therapist who deals in multiple things, but your first and foremost thing is to deal with patients who suffer from pornography and sex addiction, I guess.
Yeah, so pornography, webcams, phone lines, sex workers, that type of stuff. Young men who are struggling with pornography, have watched pornography from an early age, and also men who are struggling to quit the negative effects of pornography and looking at material online on the internet. Yeah.
True. Yeah. And speaking of internet, Anthony, if we try to cut to the chase, how much because of internet these things have been escalated, the pornography and stuff like that.
I think things have definitely got worse since COVID because a lot of people were like indoors working from home um, on the laptops on the internet, and I just think young men. I'm really glad this age identification thing has come in with the pornography because it's putting a lot of people off. But with young men, they've been watching this material since they're what 10, 11 years of age, and now they're 21, 22. They're really struggling with holding down a relationship, what it's like to date a girl, what it's like to love somebody because of what's been programmed into the mind. This is what sex is. So it's really affecting our future generations because they're programmed for novelty. Basically, they just think that people can be easily replaced without working through any emotional difficulty in your relationship, and that's why a lot of relationships are failing at the minute.
And like Anthony, recently a lot of like I'm like that thing I forgot the name of it, where women OnlyFans, yeah, those that thing has also been trending nowadays. So I want to know what's your take on it and how it is deteriorating the society and mindset of the people.
Yeah, so for some reason now it's trendy for young women wanting to be OnlyFans models so they can make crazy amounts of money, not realizing that that money coming from guys who are addicted to pornography but also addicted to connection, and they're paying for connection out of their own money, and it's not even real. They're just getting information. They're getting pictures. They're paying £10 for a picture of a woman. They're
Yeah.
paying £15 for a video, and they're being manipulated via YouTube, via Instagram, via Facebook. A lot of OnlyFans models are putting links and adverts on those social platforms now, and young men are clicking the links, and then before they know it, they're subscribing to a £10 a month OnlyFans account, and they're doing that with multiple accounts, and it's costing them money. So yeah, we've got a big problem with that at the moment. Absolutely.
Uh, do,
So the way out of that, yeah, sorry, go on.
Anthony, I was like about to ask you a hypothetical question. Like, do you think that if social media didn't exist, then like it would be much better in terms of this pornography thing?
I think young men would still watch pornography, but because there's so much sexualized material on social media, it's leading them to watch pornography. So there's a link where guys will always watch pornography, especially if it's free. But I think if you're scrolling on your phone and you're on Instagram, and next minute you come across a bikini model who's twerking, for example, you're more likely to click on her profile and click on her OnlyFans link, and before you know it, you're down that rabbit hole again. So there's a link between social media and adult sites because what people are realizing on those adult sites is that we can get the guys to click on us through the social media sites. And let's face it, that's where a lot of young men hang out on social media.
Good.
And these young men are just clicking the links without even thinking, you know.
That's right. Yeah. And in the light of what
Yeah.
you're saying, Anthony, like I was watching a news like in the context of AI, like gone will be the days where people would pay for only fans, when it comes to a human being, if like people even pay for AIs, like if the AI is a model, even if it's an artificial thing, but people would still pay for those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because um, those men that we were talking about who have formed a relationship with pornography, which means they've really formed a relationship with the devices. So it means that like the device is like the girlfriend. So they don't need a girlfriend. They've got the device. So AI is going to replace that because people will have artificial girlfriends because they don't have to be emotional with them or they don't have to be intimate with them. And more young people are starting to come out of relationships because they find them too difficult to be in because they don't want to do the work. Where our generation and the generation before would talk things out, they'd get to the bottom of the problems, they'd want to work it out. Now you can just be traded in, and people think the grass is greener on the other side, and it isn't.
Makes sense. And Anthony, as you deal with a lot of people who face the vicissitudes of life, trials and tribulations, I want to know, being a therapist, how do you keep yourself, like your mental health in pace, like in check?
Yeah, that's a great question because the most important thing for a therapist is self care. Because if we don't give ourselves self care, how can I give you my energy if I've got no energy? How can I help you with your problems if I haven't even got the energy to help you with your problems? It's absolutely crazy. So, what I do is I get out in nature, I eat really well, so I eat clean, I don't drink alcohol,
Yes.
I meditate every day. I exercise 5 days a week, and I make sure that I spend the weekend relaxing and resting and reading and recharging my batteries ready for the clients that I'm going to be working with in the following week. So, with in the therapeutic world, there's a term called compassionate fatigue. You might have heard of it. It's called compassion fatigue. Now, compassion fatigue is not because of the work that you're doing. It's because you're not being compassionate with yourself. So therapists burn out because they're not looking after themselves. Because if they did look after themselves, they wouldn't burn out. Simple as that. And what it looks like is making sure you're having a break every 3 months, making sure you're going on holiday every 3 months, making sure you're looking after your body, making sure you're looking after your mind, making sure what content that you're watching and what you're reading is going in, which is important, and also to make sure that you're practicing what you preach. So, I work with porn addiction. Now, imagine if I was watching pornography behind closed doors and then I was working with clients with porn addiction. It'd just be silly, wouldn't it? So we, as therapists, we have to practice what we preach or we become incongruent.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, and there's like a lot of confusion, dilemma around this concept. Anthony, I'm sure you must have come across with a lot of patients that, when it comes to masturbation, like there are lots of myths that it's beneficial, it's not. So I want to know, like, from the perspective of therapist, what's your take on it about masturbation?
Yeah. So, as you know, Janelle, in certain religious cultures, masturbation is forbidden. In some of those cultures, like Muslim culture, for example, masturbation is forbidden. Yeah. And it's classed as a sin. Now, if we don't masturbate, what that's going to do is it's going to build up a lot of energy in the body, and we might become stressed and frustrated if we haven't got a spiritual practice. If you do yoga and meditation, you can channel that energy into your body and you can use it for spiritual purposes. But if you don't do that, the energy's got to go somewhere. So I teach clients healthy masturbation, which is masturbation without a screen, without any images, just using the memory of an encounter that they've had before, which they really enjoyed, and masturbating over an ex-girlfriend or the partner and using healthy masturbation. And what that does is it helps them to detach away from the high stimuli that they see on the internet. So in answer to your question, masturbation is absolutely healthy if it's done the correct way. If it's not done the correct way, it can be very unhealthy and it can drain a lot of your dopamine in your brain. And then that can cause depression and lack of motivation.
Got it. And are there any
Yeah.
number of times that a person needs to do that, like moderately or something like that, that is normal, like once in a week, once in
Yeah. So, I mean, depending on what you follow, uh, you know, I look at like the Taoist practices, they have like a recommendation based on your age. And someone in the 20s would be every 4 days. Someone in the 30s would be every 8 days. Someone in the 40s would be every 16 days. And then someone in the 50s plus would be once a month. And that's to get the full energy of your body vitality. But however, you have to be doing some sort of practice to work with the energy, like a breathing practice or a meditation practice or a yoga practice, because if we just use that energy to sit on the internet watching YouTube, it's not going to be very productive. So what people don't realize is that when you don't masturbate as much, your testosterone levels go up and you become more motivated, so you can get more work done and you feel good about yourself, and it also increases your self-esteem. So when I'm working with a client, I always ask them, what do you think would be a healthy pattern to masturbate? And then they usually tell me, I'd like to do it every 3 days, I'd like to do it once a week. And I say, well, let's try this and let's see how we get on. And a lot of the times they'll come back to me and say, yeah, this is really working. I feel a lot more motivated and I feel like I've got more self-esteem.
makes sense. And as you talked about, like community who are prohibited to do this thing. So if they don't do it, is
Yeah.
it healthy? Like from body wise, is it okay if a person doesn't do it?
So, yes, it is healthy if it's done correctly. So, like I mentioned before, if you were a Muslim man, for example, and masturbation was forbidden, you would be using that energy to pray, every day, I think 5 or 6 times a day. You'd be using that energy to read scripture and texts and reading the Quran and using the energy for greater good. However, if you weren't doing any of that and you were building up the energy, you'd struggle with some of the effects of feeling frustrated because obviously you're not emptying the tank.
Makes sense. Wow,
Yeah.
got it.
So I think in Hinduism, for example, um, one drop of semen equals 500 drops of blood. So you can see how powerful that semen is, because not only does it create life force on this planet, it's man's energy. Because if he can get the balance right between masturbation, he can be vital with his energy, and when he feels vital, he can do things that make him feel good. Otherwise, he's more likely to play video games, eat snacks, and watch Netflix.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, I want to know, like a lot of children, like sometimes, and they get like children, sometimes teacher caught get children doing masturbation, like at a very tender age, 11, 12 years. So is there any particular age where a boy should start doing that?
I think healthy. I think in the sex education curriculum, they should be teaching children about healthy masturbation and not watching stuff on the phone to masturbate to, because what that's going to do is it's going to create like a sensory fantasy in the child's mind. So the child is going to struggle to masturbate without an image. So you can imagine what's going to happen to that child as it starts getting to 15, 16, 17, and it's been doing that all its life. It's not going to know what healthy masturbation looks like. And what healthy masturbation looks like is no devices, no magazines, no nothing, using your mind and your arousal to think of something which you enjoyed and then doing it that way. And you feel a lot better about yourself when you do it that way because there's no guilt or shame afterwards, you say.
Makes sense. And the question is there any criteria where like a boy should start doing it, like in terms of age?
So, so do you mean at what age should the boy become aware of healthy masturbation techniques, for example?
Just
Um, is that
like
what
yeah,
you mean?
obviously it has to be healthy, like you said. But at what age? Like if a
Yeah,
boy starts doing at 9 or 8, is it okay at that age, at that kind of young age?
it's hard to say because children reach puberty at different ages. Some children reach puberty earlier. Some children reach puberty a bit later. I think if a young boy develops an erection and he wants to start playing with his penis, he's probably going to do that out of curiosity, isn't he? But if that boy's got a phone and his mum and his mate sends him a video of a woman dancing around, he might masturbate to that video, and then that's when he's going to start doing that more so with the internet, isn't he? So it's about having the awareness to tell young children it's not healthy to be masturbating with screens and images of women because that can lead to pornography and it can lead to webcams, OnlyFans, and all the stuff that we talked about at the start of this podcast. So it's about schools. Schools are frightened of saying this to children, but they should be bringing the awareness in and saying, look, kids, this is a problem. We know that you're going to be doing it at some point, but this is the way to do it. And stay away from pornography and stay away from images, and that will help our future generations.
Hmm. And a lot of people like often tell that masturbation helps them in dealing with anxiety. Like if they feel burnout or if they are on the verge of burnout or if they are feeling anxious, if they masturbate, then they feel kind of, relief. Is it so?
So chemically, they will feel relief because they're going to feel dopamine. There's going to be a dopamine release. There's going to be like a bit of an oxytocin release, like a bonding chemical released. And we're going to feel relaxed. And if we do it before bed, we're going to sleep nicely and we're going to go off to sleep. However, if we're doing that every night, we're going to deplete our dopamine levels and then we're going to be more depressed because it's your dopamine which motivates you to get stuff done.
Makes sense.
So, so you know yourself. Um, I think you've got a PhD, and you've studied hard for that PhD, and that there's lots of hours that need to be done of study, research. If you didn't have the energy to do that, you wouldn't have been able to do your PhD.
Makes sense. Hmm.
So if you were masturbating every day, you'd struggle to get that level of concentration in because you wouldn't have the same motivation to do something which you really enjoy doing. And I think some people haven't found what they enjoy doing. So they're using masturbation as a tool just to avoid life, for example, just to feel better about themselves because they've got no purpose in life. I think when we find our purpose in life, the masturbation habits just fall away because we don't want to do that anymore. We'd rather do something which helps other people or benefits another person because we get more fulfillment from that, you say.
Got it. Wow. Nice. Wow.
I just think, I just think, Janelle, that because of pornography, young men have become more feminine. And as a result of that, young women have become more masculine because the guys are feminine. So the young guys are feminine and the girls are starting to be masculine because the guys can't be masculine with the girls who are feminine. So there's like a bit of a switch going on at the minute. And I do believe that pornography and images on the internet is starting to zap men of the masculinity because your masculinity comes from your testosterone. And if you've got low testosterone, you're going to struggle to be masculine. And women want a masculine man, you know.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
there. And also, like the other factors, Anthony, sedentary lifestyle, lack of exercise, lack of sleep. You're not able. Hello. Yeah.
Huge factors. So not enough water, um, not enough sleep, no exercise, junk food,
Mm,
antidepressant. Um, you know, um, People take all sorts of antibiotics thinking it's going to help them and it causes gut problem. So it's about looking at the way you live your life and starting to change these habits. And a lot of the time, mental health is actually down to the person, what they're putting in the body, what sleep they're getting, and how they're interacting with the world. And just with making those changes, the person starts to feel a lot better. So you're right. But I think there's an old saying that we've got in the UK. And I think if you feel like shit, you're more likely to eat shit. So if you feel terrible about yourself, you're more likely to eat McDonald's, aren't you? Or eat a greasy burger, because when we don't feel good about ourselves, we just want greasy food. So I understand that. I really understand it. But I
makes sense.
think the main thing is, I think the main problem is screens. That seems to be the main problem. A lot of young people now, when I go to the gym, I train 4 or 5 times a week. When I go to the gym, most young women between 18 and 35 are constantly on the phone in the gym. So
Yeah.
they're walking on the treadmill, looking at the phone, they're running, looking at the phone. That is not healthy moving forward. Imagine what that's doing to your brain, being on your phone all the time. It's not healthy.
Hmm. Makes sense. Yeah, because when we are on the phone, it's always, it's always in the like it's restless. Our mind never gets the time to think about we never get the time to contemplate or introspect about our life. We are always I guess attention of smart our span of attention is decreasing day by day.
Absolutely. And the present moment, when you're on your phone, you're not in the present moment. You're either in the past or the future, and you're in your head and you're looking at a visual image and you're reading text. That's not healthy, because you have to be in your body sometimes to feel relaxed. And if you're in here all the time, you're looking at your phone, that's just going to create a lot of anxiety. And that seems to be happening at the minute. I'm seeing more and more people, young people, who are becoming more and more anxious because of the amount of time they spend on the phone.
True, definitely. And even like you said that you're, it reminds me of as you gonna get out with your friend, like in a restaurant or somewhere, as you are going for a dinner.
Yeah,
Like when I go
yeah.
out with my friends or like when I'm in a restaurant, I often see that people take the pictures of food and all. They want to show the world how happy they are, and they want to show that they are this in this restaurant, which is kind of expensive. So they are trying to show off some like image facade where they are happy and kind of like rich. So I want to know what's your take on it, Anthony?
So my take on that is that the reason those people are doing it is because they want validation, because they've got low self-esteem. So when we have low self-esteem, the ego needs validation from
Hmm.
likes, comments, compliments from other people, and it fishes for compliments. So I would say all of that has become very unhealthy behaviour, because you can have a group of people who haven't seen each other for a while, and then they meet up and all they do is take pictures of each other's food and post it on social media. It's crazy. So there's no conversation. There's no how you doing, Janelle? What have you been up to? It's more about the image, the food, where we are, what we're doing, and
Yeah,
all portraying this happy life. But inside, we're not happy because
true.
we're looking for validation. It's crazy, yeah. So
Yeah,
I think the ego. A lot of people are unhappy and they're looking for validation to get that self-esteem hit, so they do feel happy.
makes sense. Wow. And I want to know, because of all these factors, like most of the people around us, like they are becoming toxic, willingly or unwillingly, I guess, because most of them are doing these things which are not helping them. So if a person is good, but eventually he has to deal with the world, ultimately sometimes we say that we are social animals, we have to socialize. But when we tend to do it, some people say one or other things that can affect us, that can touch a nerve. So in that case, what can we do? Do we have to stop like socializing with people because most of them are toxic? not because of their nature, but because of the things they do. Like we are discussing the kind of things they do. So in that case,
Yeah.
what can be the solution for it?
Okay. Yeah. So I'd say that the majority of people can be toxic because, at its core, the ego is narcissistic and it's selfish and it's all about me and me titles and me PhD and me reputation and me money and me how I look and where I live. It's all about our identity, isn't it? And a lot of us are toxic because we've got an ego and the ego is narcissistic. And then we say, oh, he's narcissistic, she's narcissistic, and I don't like them and I don't like them. When the reality is we're like them too. So it's
Yeah.
about being aware, self awareness. It's about having the awareness to know that you're not just a good person, you can be bad as well. And it's about acknowledging that actually when someone upsets me, I can be not very nice. So when somebody shouts at me, I cannot be very nice. And it's about owning those traits in yourself. And it's also important that if your friendships are not really supporting you and your friends don't want what's best for you and they don't ask about you and they're not there for you, why are you with them?
True.
It doesn't make sense. Why would you want a friend who doesn't care about you, doesn't check in with you, doesn't celebrate your achievements, and moans to you every time they see you? That's not a friendship. That's an attachment to somebody who's unhappy. And, we have a good saying that misery loves company. A lot of the time,
Yeah.
people are hanging around with people because they're miserable. So
Yeah.
misery does love company. And it's about doing the internal work on yourself so you can suss out who you want in your life and who don't you want in your life. And that's where boundaries are important. Yeah.
Definitely. Wow. And also the comparison, Anthony. We use social media because we feel like we are lagging behind, and if we don't show our accomplishment on social media, that FOMO thing, fear of missing out. So in that also, I feel like comparison is the thief of joy. Despite knowing this,
Yeah.
we still tend to do it. So again, what's your take
Yeah.
on it?
Okay. Got you. I think comparison is different than fear of missing out because I think with fear of missing out, the people who are frightened of missing out are the ones who are bored and lonely, and they're frightened of missing something. Because if you're happy in yourself, just say it's Saturday night and you're happy on your own, and you can sit with yourself and you can eat good food and watch TV or listen to music or read, and you don't need people to socialize with, you're not going to have fear of missing out, are you? Because you're happy in what you're doing. But I think comparison is that people like to copy each other. So if you see that I've got 1,000 likes, it might stir up a bit of competition in you, and you might think, well, why is Anthony getting 1,000 likes and I'm only getting 100 likes, and my post is better than his? And I think that's the danger of comparison. And with the ego, it always wants to compete. So I want what's yours and you want what's mine. And then that creates a lot of competition. And then people are competing with each other and copying each other on social media. So the antidote to that is people to become self aware, to put the phones down, start to meditate, start to reflect on their own thoughts, start to contemplate the behaviours and how they show up in the world, and develop a frame where they feel strong enough in themselves so they don't have to compete with others. Like, I don't compete with anybody, but when I was younger, I'd be competing with everybody because I was more egotistical. Yeah.
Makes sense.
So,
Wow.
so the way out of that, in answer to your question, the way out of that is it's an ego problem. And the best way to make people less egotistical is to teach them to meditate
Mm, Noted. I guess
because it strips you of your identity. Meditation strips you of your identity. It's like, yeah,
definitely. And like I guess meditation is panacea for all. I guess it's a cure for all the things. I guess. But
yeah, and yeah, go on.
I was like sometimes, like oftentimes, people say that it's really hard for them to meditate. They cannot even sit for like 2 minutes. They are like flooded with a lot of thoughts and all. So in that case, what could be the right approach to it?
Okay. So if if I was talking to those people, I would ask them, how many hours do you spend a day on your phone? And they would say 12 hours. And I would say, so you can't meditate for 2 minutes.
Yeah,
And then they get it.
yeah, makes
It's
sense.
just an excuse.
Mm,
You've got to do it. I've been meditating for 10 years now. I've got over 100,000 hours in. I've been meditating every day for 10 years. I started off with 2 minutes a day. I now do an hour a day. It's easily done. You've got to practice every day though. You can't dip in and out like it's some sort of fad. You've got to be doing it every day. It's literally 2 minutes a day for the first month and then start adding a minute on each month or something like that. And before you know it, you'll be at 20 minutes.
makes sense. Wow. And one more thing, Anthony, I'm not sure, did we cover that in the last podcast or not? But like that Wim Hof method, where he talks about breathing, where he talks about
Oh,
taking
yeah.
ice bath. So again, what's your take on it? Do you think those things are helpful? Breathing, obviously, it's a no-brainer, but ice bath?
Yeah. So I've been doing cold showers now for about 5 years and I haven't had a common cold, touch wood, for 5 years. And I have a 3 minute cold shower in the morning. And what that does is it boosts up your dopamine, but it also helps your immune system to fight. It strengthens your immune system to fight off germs and illness. So you're actually strengthening the immune system. So cold showers, ice baths, cold therapy, yes, it's a big yes from me. Breath work, the Wim Hof method does work, absolutely, but so does all the other breathing methods. And we could do a breathing exercise together now to show your audience if you like, and I'll show you how
Well,
to do some conscious breathing. So let's do this together. So what I'd like you to do, Janelle, with me, I'd like you to breathe in nice and slowly and breathe out nice and slowly. And I'd like you to develop no pause between your breaths. So we're just breathing in nice and slowly, and then we're breathing out nice and slowly with no gaps between your breath. And we're just going to do that for a minute together. Ready? So this is called conscious breathing. And we're literally just breathing in and out, but we're focusing our attention on our breath as we're doing it. So we can feel the in breath in and we can feel the in breath out. And there's no pauses in between the breath. There's just a nice slow breathing in and out. That's all we're doing. There we go, Janelle, that's a minute. So that was called conscious breathing. And as we do that, Janelle, uh, as you noticed, you probably feel a bit more relaxed. And that was just 1 minute, 1 minute of conscious breathing. So breathing the breath and how we use the breath can calm our nervous system down, make us feel less anxious, and actually give us more energy instead of those shallow breaths that we forget to breathe when we're watching, when we're scrolling, and we're forgetting to breathe and we have those shallow breaths. So I'd recommend people do conscious breathing for just a few minutes each day when they get up in the morning and before they go to bed at night, and they would notice a big difference to the mental health because they would start to be more present with the breath. Yeah.
hmm, makes sense. And about cortisol, Anthony, a lot of people have
Yeah.
high level of cortisol all the time. So they have to take, I guess, antidepressant medicines, or so they start drinking a lot, or they tend to smoke a lot. So how to, again, apart from meditation and breathing, are there any other ways to deal with it, or like one can take medications if required?
Yeah. So movement. So, cortisol to lower cortisol, yoga, running. walking, aerobics, body movement, intense exercise, even if it's just for 20, 30 minutes of getting the heart rate up. When the heart rate lowers, it brings down the stress from the cortisol. So the best antidote for stress and cortisol is exercise,
Hmm.
meditation, and breathing as well. Yeah, getting out in nature.
And correct me if I'm wrong, there are four hormones, right? And endorphins uh, get released when we exercise. It doesn't get released by doing any other things. It's the highest level of happiness, I guess.
Yeah, so like for example, serotonin gets released when we've meditated and when we've exercised, and that's what makes us feel good after we've done it. And the more you do that, the more you're going to feel good in the day. So if you do that in the morning, that means that you're going to feel good throughout the day. So we always say how you start the day is really important because if you don't start the day well, you're more likely to stay in that state for the rest of the day. But if you start your day in a quiet, peaceful way where you're using the body to move, you may be not eating until about 11 o'clock or lunchtime, and then maybe you're doing some meditation, you will, and a cold shower, you will feel really good about your day ahead. A lot of people find it hard to do it because they don't want to keep doing it every day, but they don't realize that you have to do it for about a month for to notice the results, and they don't
Yes.
want to do it for that long. We live in a society where people want a quick fix, they want
Yeah,
to take a tablet, and they want to feel better, and they don't want to wait. Yeah,
yeah, that's true, unfortunately. And what I was saying, I lost the trail of thoughts, Anthony.
it's all right. It'll come back. It'll come back to you. So yeah, it's interesting that we can um, realize that a lot of these things won't benefit us until we're doing them as a regular practice. So a habit usually takes about a month or 30 days to start to get programmed in. A lot of people don't want to wait that long. And you've got discipline is the best way out of mental health because when you're disciplined, there's no room for depression because you're keeping on top of your mental health all the time. Because if we take our mental health for granted and something goes wrong in life, we're more likely to become depressed.
Makes sense. And in the light of what you're saying in terms of discipline, uh, is there a possibility like I'm way too disciplined? So, is it okay sometimes to simply stop and smell the roses to break the mold, I guess?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm like you. I'm very disciplined. However, when the weekend comes,
Hmm.
I'm not very disciplined. So I'm disciplined Monday to Friday, and then when the weekend comes, I'll more likely eat some junk food, or maybe watch some telly, like binge watch some telly,
Yeah,
or maybe listen to music and just relax. And that's me giving myself permission to uh, relax a bit and not be as disciplined because otherwise, if you're too disciplined and you start taking yourself too seriously,
yeah,
you stop having fun. Yeah.
that's true. That's right. And I want to know, speaking of
And then,
television, Anthony, sorry for interrupting. Yeah, carry on.
no, it's all right. I was just going to say that when we become too serious, we're not very fun to hang around with. We're not very fun to
Yeah,
be around when we're being serious. So we need to lighten up a bit sometimes because it's good to be playful and not take life too seriously.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, there was a quote like in the light of what you are saying, don't take your life too seriously because you are never gonna get out alive of it.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. I like it. Yeah,
And
it's good. Who's that by? That
hmm,
who's it by? Who's it by? The quote.
I know I don't know who said it. I guess it was
Yeah,
anonymous. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I like it. And I think going back to what we were saying before, when we become our identities, so when you become the teacher and when I become the counsellor, that means that we're going to suffer if that's taken away from us. So you have to be careful not to attach to your identity. So when you finish school, leave your teacher identity at school because
Hmm.
if you took that home with you, you're more likely to study or do more teaching work when you get home and you'll
Yeah,
just be working all the time. Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
right. Do you have a few more minutes, Anthony? I'll resend the
Yeah,
link to you. Okay.
yeah. I've got a few more minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Janelle.
Uh, so again, like Anthony, as you were saying, we live in today's society where we are always bombarded with a lot of people who are at our age, similar age, doing a lot like better than us, and that compels us
Yeah,
to never rest on our laurels. We are always, we feel like we are lagging behind. So we are always in the state of, like if we take some time off, we feel kind of guilty that we are not doing something productive. So I want to know in that also, what's your take on it from that perspective?
yeah, got you. So you've just described somebody who's got the belief that they're not good enough, and they have to compare themselves to other people. And when they see someone else doing well, they have to up their game to do better than them or compete
Yeah.
with them. And and because of the family system, your mum and dad have told you that you need to work, you need to work hard, you need to do this.
Mm.
The teachers at school have said you need to work hard, Janelle, you need to do this, you need to do that. And now um, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it for all of those people who've told you that you should be doing that. And when we use the word should, it usually means that we're not good enough. And the reason we're not good enough is because we have the belief that when we get a PhD or when we get a
Yeah.
master's or when we get a doctorate, that we are going to be good enough. Then when that happens, we still don't feel like we're good enough. And then we're on to the
True.
next thing.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
never
So
ending,
so so it's a cultural thing because what happens is families put all their beliefs onto their children and expect them to conform to their beliefs, and it doesn't work like that.
True.
Your kids should be happy in exactly what they do, even if it's empty and rubbish all day. As long as they're happy in what they're doing, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
Because if we're not happy with what we're doing and we're doing it for somebody else, we're going to feel not very good about ourselves as we get older.
Hmm. Makes sense. Yeah. And also, a lot of people romanticize this thing, the art of multitasking. So I read it somewhere that it's not good. Rather than multitasking, you need to focus on one thing. So I want to know, is that a good thing or bad thing in your opinion?
I think for a woman, women are much better at multitasking and doing multiple things at the same time because they operate from a different area of the brain. So they're very good at multitasking and doing things as they're going along. Men, we're not so good at multitasking. So men are probably just better sticking to one task at a time and focusing on that task,
Hmm.
for about 4 hours with some breaks in between. So I do believe in sort of like working in short bursts, but working in 4 hour blocks, and also making sure that we're not distracted. We haven't got our phones on the desk. We haven't got the TV on in the background. That we're just concentrated on the task in front, and we're using our energy to focus on that task because whatever your mind focuses on, it creates. So if you're focusing your energy on one task, you're more likely to do a better job with that task rather than multiple tasks of things that you're doing at the same time because the energy is going to leak to different areas of those tasks, you see. So I'm a big believer in focusing on what's right in front of you instead of having 20 windows open. Just have maybe one or two windows open so you're very clear on what you're doing. I do believe on that, yeah. But I think with women, they could probably get away with multitasking a bit easier because they're better at it. That's probably the best way to put it.
Right. And what are your some personal rules, Anthony, that you never break?
Say that again, sorry.
What are some of the rules of your life, like your personal rules that you never break, come hell or high water?
Um, so, you're talking about the integrity?
In terms of in general, like if I talk about my personal rule, like I never smoke, so that's something that I'll never do. So it's my rule. So I
Yeah.
want to know that kind of rules that you have in your life, no matter what happens,
Okay.
you never break it.
Yeah. yeah. So um, these are the things that I would never compromise with by being integral. So um, I would never watch pornography um, because of the work that I do. I would never lie to a client or rip them off. So I'd never take money off a client if I didn't think I could work with them. So if I didn't think I could work with them, I'd give them a number for somebody else instead of taking the money off them. So I wouldn't bring any harm to a client. Um, I wouldn't. I wouldn't say that I've got qualifications that I haven't got. So I wouldn't lie about my qualifications and my experience because if people found I was lying, it would damage my reputation. And I try to be as professional as I can with me relationships with my clients to make sure that our therapeutic relationship is completely separate from our working relation. Sorry, our therapeutic relationship is different than our friendship, for example, or our normal relationship. So there's things that I wouldn't compromise that wouldn't make me feel good about myself as a therapist. Because if I was doing those things, I'd feel like a hypocrite with some of the work that I was doing.
Makes sense. And
Yeah.
last but not the least, Anthony, what's your take on caffeine? Like be it coffee, yeah, coffee. Like, how much amount of caffeine can a person should be drinking?
Yeah. So the research on caffeine is that anything more than 2 cups a day is going to affect your brain, you know. So you're looking at maybe 1 to 2 cups a day maximum, but no caffeine after dinner time.
Got it. Yeah.
So, so the studies are saying that if you drink caffeine after lunchtime, it's still in your brain when you go to sleep at night,
Yeah.
and it's going to affect your sleep. So you're best consuming. I have a cup of coffee in the morning, about 7 in the morning. I have another one about 9 o'clock before I go to the gym, and then that's it for the day.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So caffeine, we have to be very careful that we're not taking too much of that as a stimulant because it's going to make us anxious and it's going to increase our blood pressure and it's going to make us. It's a stimulant, so it's going to make us more hyperactive, and then we're going to try and find it hard to sleep. So I'd recommend no caffeine after midday,
Yeah, that's
but a
true.
maximum of 2 cups. Maximum of 2 cups.
Got it.
But no energy drinks either. So no energy drinks. So no Monster, no Red Bull, because the caffeine levels in those drinks are absolutely ridiculous. It's like having a can of bloody sugar and caffeine in one go. Yeah,
Yeah, even the sugar in that, like intake of sugar from that you'll get, it's way high. It's too much.
yeah, so true. And addictive too.
True. And what sort of advice would you like to give to a person who suffers from insomnia, Anthony?
So insomnia, I would recommend that they look into the sleep hygiene of, you know, make sure they've got a suitable mattress, make sure that they've got blackout curtains on the windows, making sure that the room's the right temperature, and making sure that they look into conscious breathing and breath work that they could do before bed, which would help them to relax so they can sleep. And also maybe look at why they can't sleep. Is it because of racing thoughts? Is it because they're not tired? Is it because they've got too much energy? To try and really find out what's really driving the insomnia and where it's coming from. And if the person struggles with insomnia and they wake up in the middle of the night, it's much better to get up and make a drink and walk around and then go back to sleep, go back to bed, rather than lying in bed and then trying to get to sleep.
Mm,
Because the studies say that if we get up and we move about and then we go back to bed, it interrupts the pattern of the brain and then it thinks it's time for bed again. So that helps with sleep.
wow. On that note,
Yeah.
Anthony, I guess I won't hold you any longer. Thank you for your sagacious advice. It's been really educational and informative. So thank you for sparing some time out for this podcast. And I'm gonna bother you again uh, after I guess 1 or 2 months for podcast part three. Until then, take care of yourself and enjoy your Sunday, Anthony.
Oh, thanks, Janelle, and thanks for inviting me on again. And it's been lovely to speak to you. And I really appreciate some of the questions that you've asked me today. And I hope this podcast benefits some of your audience and they can get some of the tips that we've shared today, which would help people with the mental health.
Definitely, it's gonna genuinely help a lot of viewers. And yeah, all these questions, I guess, that were like I asked from the perspective of audience itself. So I'm sure that all these things would help my viewers a lot. And again, once again, thanks a million, Anthony, and we're gonna catch up soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Yeah.
Cheers. Bye bye.